one of those that are facilitated by Entomb in this list.
I don't think that there's a deck that Liliana is worse against than this one.
It is a joke.
It is absolutely horrible against this deck. As you see, we're moving into game number 3. Haas's opponent will be Dan Musser. Blue, white, red miracles here for Dan. A lot of Open Series success for him. Has qualified and played in a couple of Pro Tours as well. Whenever we're in this area, we oftentimes do see him as he is an Ohio native. He's going to start off with a Scalding Tarn, as he did lose game number 2. Haas going to take a look at his hand that he did keep, figure out how he wants to go about doing it. Again, Haas has a couple of spells in his deck. Life from the Loam, Entomb, Faithless Looting, Smallpox. He has a couple copies of Crop Rotation. He has 4 Liliana the Veils because Liliana is so good in his deck.
And Dan is not the most equipped to beat the card Life from the Loam. He has 2 copies of Rest in Peace in his list. Otherwise, it's a hard card for him to fight in a long game. He can also counterbalance in Divining Top.
Now, I remember talking to Kennen at the beginning of the year. Crazy to think that's almost 6 months ago. But asking him, how do you feel about Rest in Peace? Is that card you can beat? He's like, yeah, I've beaten it before. Beat it again. It's not a big deal. It's kind of just annoying.
If it's being supplemented by other stuff, it's annoying. It's not enough to win the game on its own.
Mox Diamond going to discard a Maze of Ith here for Haas. You see there's a Thoughtseize in his hand. He may fire that off here. That looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. Now, Musser does have a Brainstorm, so I think it's pretty likely we'll see a response here in a little bit.
Yeah. Protect his best stuff. And even the Wear Tear here in his hand is pretty valuable against that Mox Diamond. So
yeah, it looks like he does pick up another copy of Wear and Tear. So we talked a little bit earlier about how some players do have Wear Tear this week and others do not. You see Musser has multiple copies throughout his 75. Got to figure out how he wants to set things up. Looks like he's going to go hiding the old Rest in Peace. A card that is quite good in this matchup.
Yeah, it looks like Rest in Peace, Counterbalance are the cards he's thinking about hiding here, which makes a lot of sense, as those are the two cards in conjunction with one another that are going to give Kennen all sorts of trouble.
I actually like the way he's setting it up here too. You see you see Wear and Tear, Brainstorm, and then a couple of lands. What he's actually going to do is he sets Counterbalance on top, and then he sets Rest in Peace underneath it, so he can play Counterbalance, and he knows exactly what's on top, which is 2-mana spell, which presumably counters Life from the Loam.
Very good sequencing here for Dan.
Brainstorm going to bite the dust. Seems like a natural target there for Haas.
Can't take one Wear Tear.
And now there's Counterbalance, comes rolling off the top there. Haas is going to take a draw now. Looks like he's having a little bit of difficulty here fighting land drops in his deck. Of course, this is a lands deck, at heart.
Yeah, you can play a control strategy in some matchups with Smallpox and Liliana, but Loam is the straw that stirs the drink. If he doesn't find a land drop next turn, this is all sorts of trouble here because Counterbalance is in play. Dan can also just snap off a Wear Tear on the box and leave him with very few resources.
Dan going to draw his card for the turn. And the one thing here for Dan is it looks like he's going to sacrifice the Scalding Tarn. He doesn't have to fire off Rest in Peace right now.
He can wait.
Yeah, there's no big rush. He's going to search for it looks like a basic mountain. And he's going to fire off Wear to take care of that Mox Diamond. And Haas having some real trouble finding lands here.
Haas does have a couple copies of Abrupt Decay in his sideboard, but they are going to be seriously taxed in this game.
Yeah, only 2 copies here for Haas in his sideboard. You see he's looking at a Thoughtseize yet again in his hand. Looking like he's trying to decide if he wants to respond here to this Wear half of Wear and Tear. Decisions here.
It does appear that he has Abrupt Decay.
That's a good target. Looks like maybe he wants to fire it off. I imagine the thing here is that Kennen was thinking, okay, I want to save this.
To try to fight over Rest in Peace, most likely, yeah.
Musser looks like he may reveal the top card, maybe not. And he will. It's a Plains. I think the reason that Dan's revealing that more than anything is because he just wants to get the information on if I'm supposed to play a sack land.
You're right. He can play Caracas and not shuffle if the card's good, or play a fetch land if it's something he doesn't want.
Because he knows Abrupt Decay can't be countered.
Right.
But getting that little bit of information is key, and now he's going to drop down the Rest in Peace. And that's going to take care of all the graveyards. You have to imagine for Haas, this is not the first time he's played against this card.
No, and it's going to be hard for him to get anything proactive going whatsoever while that rest in peace is on the table.
You see Musser's hand here, wear and tear, Caracas, and a Scalding Tarn. Nothing too exciting, but all it takes is one draw step to turn things around.
If he has a backup of Prep Decay, then he can start playing again. Or he can just try to win the game with Liliana, for example. That's another path. But
looks like an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth was the draw here for Haas. So swaps for everybody.
One of Magic Online's most annoying cards.
You have no idea. All right, I suppose you might.
I do.
See what else Haas has to do on this turn. Might be time for a discard spell. Yeah, you see Musser grabbing the wear and tear, say, yeah, I'll discard this if you want me to. That's fine. Musser going to play a Scalding Tarn here. Not sure what he drew. It is a mystery to us, to you, and to Kennen Haas as well. As Haas does draw a card for the turn. He's run off some lands now. A Swamp has come into play. And now a Liliana. And it looks like that's going to resolve. So up goes the elevator on Liliana. Haas is going to discard. He knows it's going to be gone for good, and it's a copy of Entomb.
Not very good against Rest in Peace.
Yep. And Haas will pass the turn back over to Musser, who will take a draw here. So even Musser has established himself pretty well here with Rest in Peace and counterbalance the early portions of the game. Haas is definitely fighting back now.
This is a cool element of Haas's deck, and we saw this a couple of times. It's not a one-dimensional loam deck where if you play any sort of graveyard hate, the game just ends. He has some backup plans, Liliana among them.
There's a Bloodstained Mire, so another land here, and now the elevator goes up again. Musser ready to discard, so he wants to keep that wear and tear. So that card goes bye-bye. Haas is going to discard as well. It's Caracas and Life in the Loam. Those are what's going to go away. Now this might be the Thoughtseize, and it is, so that's going to take care of that. So now Musser's out of cards. This is exactly how Haas likes things. Players having to play out the top of their deck and run perfect. That's running perfect, as it were. Chase the Mind Sculptor is going to come in. Hey, the one thing discard doesn't do, stop the top of the deck.
No, and it's why you can't play the slowest control game in Legacy, because these Jace decks, all they need to do is draw that card and all your work is undone.
So the best Planeswalker in Magic history comes rolling off the top of the deck here for Musser. He decides to Brainstorm instead of going Fate Sealing. A little bit of an interesting decision when you're facing down Liliana.
Yep, I think that he potentially had an opportunity to just start Fate Sealing and force the hand, but taking a different route.
Badlands into Helm of Obedience. Excuse me?
Oh, that is awesome.
This is the reverse Helm.
Awesome.
This is the reverse Helm kill?
God. Are you kidding me? Hoisted by his own petard.
That is a nice Rest in Peace. That is real nice. Oh my God. That is it. Kennen Haas is clapping. He couldn't be happier. Wins the game. Of course he's beaten Rest in Peace before. He's going to do it again.
Wow, that is awesome. Does he have Helm in his deck just to bring in against decks with Rest in Peace?
Would you be surprised
that
if the
is
answer is
awesome.
Yes? I'd be smiling too. 5-1 with Jund Depths.
Wow.
That is completely absurd.
And what makes this absolutely perfect is I have Kennen's deck list in front of me. I'm looking at it right now. There is, in the sideboard, a crop rotation scribbled out and one Helm of Obedience added at the last minute.